one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Duffy. And today we are reviewing Carlton v St Kilda. Of course, it's on a Sunday night, and we're going to release this at Monday or tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And we have just beaten the St Kilda Saints. Final scores were St Kilda 8 goals, 6-54 to Carlton 10 goals, 13-73. But it was a bit of a shaky first half, but of course in the second half we started to really get going, and we were really tested with that. I guess we kind of came through the adversity. But first things first, Daffy boy, how are you?
I'm good, mate. A massive win. Like you said, it was a different type of win. I think in the last 6 weeks we haven't been in a vulnerable position like that, being down, 4 goals, and I think that's a good test for us. Come September time, because we'll be in that final series. Pato, I can almost smell it. Obviously, we're still to get the job done in the next 3 weeks, but if we keep playing the way we do, with the amount of personnel out, is a credit to the whole playing list, the buy-in to what they want to do, and obviously the coaching staff for setting up the players to succeed, Pato, because Jesus Christ, what are we, 11-8 now, and a draw, heading into the final 3 games of the season. Obviously got a massive clash on Saturday night against the Demons, where we could have a massive crack. But yeah, really proud of the way they went about it. We're a little bit off in that first half, but good teams always find a way, don't they?
Well, completely agree. I know that we were definitely off the first half, and that's why I think it was really, I mean, as you said, I think we were a bit in a position that we haven't really been in for the past 6 or 7 weeks when we've been up and about. We actually we haven't been in that position before, and to be tested and to actually come out the other side with a win is absolutely fantastic. But as you just said, I think with Carlton, I mean, right now we are 15. We are fifth on the ladder with 11, not 15th, Daffy boy, fifth on the ladder. I thought we were 15th, but I think I have to clear my eyes a little bit now. But 11 wins, 8 losses, with of course the draw, as you just mentioned, but 46 points with 117%. Port Adelaide, who are above us, is 108%, but of course we're 10 points behind Port Adelaide on the ladder. But of course, Brisbane just beat Fremantle, which kind of takes away that kind of top 4 position. But it's unfortunate, but I think right now it's quite good for us, because we're looking for maybe a home elimination final. But of course, as you said, Daft Boy, we have to try and get the job done the next few weeks. But of course, we versed Melbourne, Gold Coast, and of course GWS in the last round, because there is an extra round. But initial thoughts, it's pretty. I think the main thing that we got out of that is just how we were tested, and it's a resilient sort of performance that we were able to come out winners. And we were tested at that halftime. St Kilda were pretty much on top of us. I think pressure wise, as we spoke about before we press record on the episode, just they were very much like, they always bring the pressure, but I think when the way that they were scoring is pretty much off our turnover, and that's the only way that they could really score. And I think even with the first probably 5 minutes, I was actually seeing the intent, and if things went our way, that's when we really scored. But I think it was in a way where as soon as we started to sort out what we were doing and how they played, that's when we were fine. And on the TV, I mean, I wasn't at the game. I know you were, but I was actually at work during the game, and I think actually seeing that from that side, I was quite confident for most of the game. But of course, that last quarter was quite nerve-wracking, but it was great to see us come over the top. But initial thoughts, Daffy boy, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the last 7 weeks of the trust has increased. I have complete faith in this team. Obviously, at halftime I was oh, you should have seen me at halftime. I was a bit down in the dumps. I was just a bit frustrated, because it was just one of those games against St Kilda we do every single year, where we're a little bit off and they're playing okay and they're kicking straight and they're winning. It's like, I was just like, not again. It was just like a repeat. That's why I was more angry. But I definitely did trust them. I just thought if we kept plugging away in that third quarter and chipping that lead away, and then we got to 8 points at 3/4 time, I thought we could really hit them hard in the last quarter and have the run home. And that last quarter, well, you couldn't ask much more, could you? There's nothing better as a Carlton supporter or any AFL fan when you got all your players just buying in, doing the little things right. Where there might be a high ball and Ollie Hollands, I think near the boundary line, punched it out, and the whole crowd's going off. How good's he, by the way? He's going to be a star. But yeah, just everyone just buying in and doing their thing. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter what, if you're the captain Cripps or whoever. It's you getting a job done. If it's the same as like Fogarty's and Cunners and stuff like that. They just get their job done, and really, really, really proud.
So with that last quarter, I know that you mentioned then about, especially in the last quarter, you saw a shift. Do you reckon that was down? Cause I mean, I'll say what I think, because I know that of course you're at the game and you can obviously tell a lot more than what I can see on the TV. Did you see a change in coaching, or did you just see our system and structure stay the same and everything kind of worked a little bit better? The players maybe tried harder, their skill, I guess the ball use was a little bit better. Well, how did you see it?
Yeah. I think it was more intent defensively, was better in the second half, especially. I think the second half was pretty good as a whole. Obviously, it was 7-1, which is pretty amazing. I think it was 7-9 to 1 goal, 2 or 3. So that shows you how much the domination we had in that second half of the game. But yeah, it was intent. I think there was a moment I've never seen in an AFL field in my life, and it was 5 tackles, 5 different players tackling 5 different players within 10 seconds. I think it was on the 50-meter mark. It was like bang, tackle, bang, tackle, bang, tackle, bang, tackle. It was unbelievable. Like I've never felt, and every tackle was like, the crowd just got louder. It got louder and louder. It was just like, I've never seen it. It was just like, sometimes you see 1, 2 tackles, 3, but it was like 5 tackles within. We didn't get a free kick, and they ended up getting a free kick by the end, of course. But it was just that we just weren't letting them get away with it. You know what I mean? I think in that first half, they got out of the back a lot. I think St Kilda, I think they're so defensive that they get their goals always off turnover, off other teams' turnover. And that they don't have any other sources of scoring. That's the issue with St Kilda this year. I think they're playing a Ross style. Obviously, they're winning more games. Well, actually, they're not winning more games. I think they're in the same position as they were last year, but they're talking themselves up to be some super team. But they just didn't have any sources. And when we stopped them in the D50, especially in that second half, they were slow. Like you had ball users, you had Wanganeen, Malira, your Brad Hills, and they're just standing static in D50, and they couldn't do anything.
Yep. Well, so one more question about that before we go, I guess, to an injury that was seen in the game. So once again, I mean, St Kilda, like 54 points, that isn't a high score at all, but also how we only scored 73 points. And I think the season with how we've seen our football this season, where it's been a little bit unpredictable, where we've been really good and sometimes really shit, it actually comes to mind that video where it's like sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
but so 73 points is still not a high score from our end, where in the past 7 or 8 weeks we've been scoring a lot. 73 points to score that, but also 10 goals, 13. A little bit inaccurate, but also I just think it just was the way that St Kilda played, as you said.
Yeah.
It's just definitely, like, I don't think we did a lot wrong. And I think one thing that I need to say from a St Kilda point of view is how well Cal Wilkie did on Charlie Curnow. I reckon he did pretty solid. Like, I mean, I know that Charlie Curnow kicked 1 goal, but I think Wilkie did his job in a way. Like, he didn't 100% do his job, but I think to keep Charlie Curnow to 1 goal is pretty spectacular. But I think before we touch on the defense, midfield, ruck, and forwards as a whole, we have to touch on one injury, and it's an injury that I thought was a little bit more serious than first thought, just because hamstring injuries are shit with us now nowadays. But of course, Brody Kemp had a hamstring injury through the game. I think he came off about halfway through that fourth quarter, and I think it was just before we made the sub actually. So So I think Fogarty came off for Ed Kerno.
Yeah.
Actually, Kemp then came on off probably about 5 minutes later. But I know that you have a little bit more news than I do, Duffy Boy. Brody Kemp hamstring injury. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I don't want to say any news or anything, but I've just been hearing hopefully it's not too serious.
Yeah.
Obviously you get scans on Monday, so I don't want to say anything about injuries. They're always not on our side, so I'll be saying it's not serious, and then he'll be out for the season on Monday. So it's I hope he's all right. I hope he's all right. He's obviously, we've been talking about him a lot in the last few weeks. He's been one of the kind of rising players in the last probably 10 weeks, second half of the year. And he was good. He was solid, did his thing, doesn't need to be a superstar. He's got a superstar next to him in Jacob Wiedering, who, if he played a little bit better before his run of streak, he'd be in the All-Australian team. And in my opinion, he probably should still be in there the way he's been playing the last 8 weeks, because he's fucking phenomenal. You could not put any other defender in the team. I'd rather him. He's that solid. Like, we'll touch on him later, but Jesus.
Yeah. How good is he? How good is he? That's probably one of the ways to just describe him is you can't describe the way Jacob plays his football. But we'll touch on our first line, which of course the defense. So we'll get straight into Weeder's game, but of course, we have to touch on 2 other names, and of course the defense as a whole. But Nick Newman. How good is he? So I know that he's probably now a fan favorite from the Baggers chat, but just very quickly, just to touch on his stats, okay?
Yep.
You already know this, but I'll tell this to the viewers and the listeners. 35 touches, Nick Newman, with 26 kicks. I won't be surprised if next week Nick Newman gets a foot injury because he's kicked the ball out. 26 kicks is pretty insane with 13 marks. Also, that's another thing that's pretty insane. And he's just leadership qualities. Like if it's in halfway through a prelim final and you need someone to step up, Nick Newman is going to be that guy. And we always touch on it. He is the guy that, I think he went to Dan Butler today. But I know that Dan Butler kicked 3, I think, in the end, but he kind of got those at the start. Like
those shit goals.
And they were gimme goals. They were absolute gimme goals. And I just think Nick Newman is such a valuable asset to our defense. And when everyone comes back, whether it's Zach Williams coming back into this lineup, it's just going to be great to see how they all gel together. But another name that we need to touch on, I know that we've already touched on Weeders, so we'll go into a little bit more depth. But a player that's come back into the side this week, and we thought he was going to play that mid-forward role, which is, of course, Zach Fisher. And he was behind the ball. He was listed in the back line, and I thought that was a bit of a way to kind of intimidate St Kilda, saying, he's actually not going to play there. But he actually ended up playing there because I think in the VFL he's been playing sometimes in the half back, which is pretty exciting. I know that you've got a lot to say about his game, Duffy Boy, but in terms of Zach Fisher and his role in the back line, do you see this position for him? So, like, when everyone's fit, do you see him being in the best 22 in this position?
I thought he was great today, Fish. Just touch on his game first of all. I thought he was really good. I thought his ball use, we know his ball use is good. Obviously he's copped his fair bit of criticism this year, and he hasn't been in this side that's playing really good footy, and that definitely helps him. It was really good to see his kind of run and gun type style today. Every time a big fella took a mark, he's running past with the hands, just showing he's confident to take on the ball. I think as a halfback, you've got to be really confident in your own foot skills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't be. You can't be damaging forward of the ball. So, no, he was really good. But on that, it's tough. I don't think he's best 22 in terms of halfback. I think we've got some good halfbacks. Probably too many halfbacks. Currently, obviously, you got Boydie coming back, and like you said before, obviously Zach Williams is obviously out for the year, but he'll be back next year. So he's another name that you go, geez, he's got to come in too. So will he come in? I don't know. That's the problem we're having right now. But if Fisher's named a halfback for the rest of the year, I'm not going to be complaining.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I think we have a lot of halfbacks, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when all these players are back fit. What's going to happen with Zach Fisher, and whether he's going to maybe move clubs at the end of the year. We don't know. That's a talking point for the end of the season. But very quickly, Duff, to touch on Nick Newman and Jacob Wiedering as a whole, and also some other defenders that comes to mind as well, if you have any. How good were we today in the defense?
Really good again. Obviously, keeping them to 54. It's just 14 scoring shots as well to our 23 is enormous. Obviously, you win the game only by 3 goals, but we were down by 22 at half time. We kept them to 54. So they kicked 1 goal in a half of footy, which is pretty appalling, but good by us standards wise. But yeah, Newey. We were having a laugh about probably a few weeks ago saying he should be in the All-Australian team. I'm starting to genuinely believe that he'd be in the squad. He has to be.
Has to be.
If he's not in the 40, I think the 40, he'll be in the 40. He might not be in the All-Australian because, they'll probably have some fuckhead at halfback who's no impact, but they get 40 touches a game. Someone for the Dogs, give the Dogs something because they don't get anything for the rest of the year. But, yeah, with Weeders as well, he's back to his best and even better. I think he's actually this is the best I've ever seen. Obviously, he's played good footy over the years, but it's just that domination and he's so unfazed in the game. Like every 5 minutes to go, and the guy looks like he's just got out of bed, and he's just at full back, and yep, I'm going to go take another intercept mark, and then his ball use has been so much better than it was at the start of the year. Fuck me. Like we've both been saying, he sets the tone down there with his ball use. If he's on down there with his ball use and taking intercept mark, we're on. And the defensive unit's on. It's really clear to see. And I think, other defenders are really good as well. I thought Chincotta was very solid, and Sardi was just doing, Sardi things, jump out of nowhere and grabbing balls and popping 60-metre darts, what Sardi does. He's not a normal human being, the Adam Sard. So, no, it was really good. Our back six has been solid, and I think you'd agree. I think they've probably been our best, I guess, unit for the whole year because they've been very consistent.
Yep. You mentioned then about Sardi, and this year he's played a bit of a different role that we've kind of seen. And last year he was probably getting consistent 25 to 20 touches. Yeah. But would you want to have a guess how many touches he had today?
Would have been 13.
He had 11 touches.
11, yeah, okay.
11 touches, and I don't mind that because it shows that Sardi with his ball use, it's so valuable that he doesn't need to have the 25 touches anymore. He doesn't need to. But yeah, you also mentioned there about Weeders and how great his ball use has been. So very quickly, just to touch on his, I guess, we aren't sponsored by Telstra Tracker, but we will just very quickly just touch on the Telstra Tracker. But 100% of his disposals were in the defensive half. And so he had 16 disposals, 5 contested possessions, and also went at 88% disposal efficiency, which is pretty insane, isn't it? That just shows how great his ball use is. Sorry?
I think Newey and Fish, obviously they had 32 as well. I think Fish was at 80-something%. Where is it?
84.
I had it up. 84. Fuck. See, that is pretty damn good. With the amount of kicks they had, and Newey I think was at
89. 89.
Fuck. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So it's better than I thought it was. Yeah. No, seriously, it's really good, and I think it's so valuable when you have good kicks in your D50. It's almost more valuable to have good kicks behind the ball than ahead of the ball. Almost sometimes. Obviously, it's important around the ground. But to set you up and get different avenues to goal, because last year we didn't have that D50. We weren't scoring too much from D50. We're scoring more from stoppage and clearance. Now we've got different ways to score, and it's looking dangerous. And if I was the Melbourne Demons, I'd be a little bit worried.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. We are going to touch on the Demons until we say that we're going to win by 40 points, but. You touch on there about, I guess, how it's great to have great kickers behind the ball. And that's why I think, we'll touch on Cripper, Hewitt, Dow to a stretch. They all kind of use a lot of a lot of their disposals are handballs. So they kind of get it to whether it's a Chincotta running past or a Sam Doherty or a Blake Acres to a stretch and Zach Fisher as well today, Nick Newman, Sardi. Like there's so many names that are great kickers behind the ball and they can actually get the ball moving forward. And you don't need to we all know that all these guys have use the ball really well. Cripper uses the ball really well by foot, but they don't need to do that because they might feel like the person that's running past their asset is a little bit better than theirs. And I reckon it's a fantastic thing to have. And that's one thing that we've noticed, that we're really carrying the ball now. We actually get the ball and we hand the ball off and we go. Like that's something that we haven't been seeing for probably the whole year. And probably the last time we've seen it was probably last year towards probably the back end of the year. But now we'll just touch on the midfield conversation as we just kind of gave it a little bit of a sneak peek. And the mid conversation, we'll touch on two names. And of course, I know that you might touch on some more names, Daffy Boy. But two names from my end: Blake Acres. The amount of it's not necessarily hate, but it's just the amount of adversity that he has to come through, where he's kind of been asked whether he's worth it, whether he's actually willing to play for the Navy Blue, blah blah blah. That shows today that he's willing to do anything for his team, but also for the jumper as well, and for the supporters. He's willing to do anything, and we saw it as well when he called Vossi through the year to actually check if he's okay. Like that's just caring for people that you actually love and love working with. And another name as well is a guy that we've touched on a few times throughout the episode already, and it's Paddy fucking Dow, man. Like he's just a guy that I feel quite sorry for because he's just not getting that crack yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like when everyone's back together, I just still don't think he's good enough for the best 20 for the best probably 5 or 6 midfielders. And it's so unfortunate. But seeing today, I'm just like, I don't want this guy to leave. I don't want him to leave. And I feel like today there was just something about him. I don't know about you, Daffy Boy, but there was just something about him that he loved today. He really loved today. And he loves playing with his mates. But what were your thoughts on Blake Acres and Paddy Dow, Daffy Boy? But also, of course, some other midfielders.
Yeah, no, I thought, Acres is, wow. He's, for me, I think he's had a quietly good year. I don't really see the hate he gets. I think, obviously, like we said, when you're playing bad and it's, no one's flowing, in that 6-week period, you're trying to find way. Your microscope's trying to look at individual players. And it was more as a collective we weren't playing well enough. Obviously, individuals, we're not playing enough. But as a team, you're not going to be playing well enough. So, but yeah, with Acres, today he's good, man. His work rate for a guy his size to play on the wing, is just enormous. And like I said it a few weeks ago, we got him for a fucking future 4th round pick, Pato. Like, yeah, I could have given fucking Freo this Pepsi Max and it would have been worth more than that. Like, seriously, he was seriously good today. And the goals he kicked were important as well. Obviously, that one early and then that last one, which got me out of my seat. That was, I think he started the run from the wing, got 3 handballs and then ended up kicking a goal from 50. That's massive in the last 4 minutes of a game. And like you said, we need players to step up in late moments of big games if we're going to play September. Because there's going to be big moments where we need a goal and a moment and someone to stand up, and he did. And it's good to see that he's really become. It's good when you bring over a player and they thrive and they become one of your own. Like I feel like sometimes when you bring someone over and they just don't get it done at Carlton and they were better somewhere else, and you're just like, you just don't like them as much, or you don't, you know what I mean? Like I feel like he's really amongst the Carlton culture now, and it means a lot to him, like you said, with the whole Vossi stuff during that 6-week period, and where he was reaching out to him shows where he's at, with the club and the connection with the club. And obviously that's why he wanted to come back to Melbourne. He's from Perth, and leaving Freo to go to Carlton again, leaving your hometown to come play for a big club like Carlton is a big decision in his life, obviously. And obviously it's a decision you don't take lightly. And he's made a fucking good decision because we're a good football team. And with Paddy Dow, like we said, like I said earlier to you, I think a lot of the stuff with him is like everyone's focusing on every touch he has. Like every single touch, we're rating every single one of his touches from 1 to 10. It's like, you know what I mean? Like it's nuts. Like I think we just need to really just take a step back, calm the fuck down, and just enjoy watching him go about it, because he's still a good footballer. And like you said, it's so tough because we've got such a good midfield. I think he's definitely good enough, but I just think the other guys are better and they fit better. It's weird. It's a weird situation.
Yeah.
And come season's end, obviously, I think, will he stay? I don't know. It really depends if he gets an opportunity somewhere. I'd love to keep him, obviously. I would love him to stay in terms of midfield depth, have him in there playing, half a dozen games every year, whatever. But then if there's, I'd be really happy for him if he goes to a club, where he's getting a game every week and his talent's being shown. I wouldn't be against that either. So hopefully he has a good end to the year, and you never know, he might have an impact come finals, because there's still guys to come back in terms of, Kennedy's got to come back and he's got to come back fit in the finals. So he might not just come back straight away. So I think Dowie will probably be in for the remainder of the games for the season. I'd imagine we won't rush Chera back either.
Yeah. Actually, well said. And I completely agree with the whole, I guess how you said there about how every pretty much decision Paddy Dow makes on the football field, we all are looking so closely. And it's the one guy on our list that we only, every single touch he makes, even if it's in the VFL, we care every single decision he makes on the football field. We care about, and there will be talk behind it. My question to you is, why do you think that is? Do you reckon it's because he's such a high draft pick? Do you reckon it's because he dominates in the VFL and he just can't crack it in the AFL? What do you think that's down to?
Oh, I personally think he can crack it in the AFL. Oh, I don't see that he's definitely up to it. I thought he was very good today, but yeah. I think it's the way he started his career. So, like, obviously, we were a lowly team. We came bottom the year he played, that whole season in 2018. Him and Lockie O'Brien, and the spotlight was the same as Lockie. I think they're in the same boat, actually.
I completely agree.
It's different situations, I think. Obviously, Lockie's on the outer as well, I think. But, it's just, it's always been this negativity flying around him. And like, this guy joined Carlton, he played probably most of the games in 2018 when we were terrible, and the pressure was on him straight away. This young kid, like, that's not how it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to just get chucked to the wolves in a shit team and get smashed every week. You know what I mean? That's not how it's supposed to work. And you look at with Ollie Hollands and his development right now, he's developing in a great team, which is going to help him massively. And that's the same with Jackson Binns and other rookies that'll come through over the next couple of years. They're going to be in a good environment. And he probably wasn't in a great environment. He's seen 3 different coaches now. And, he's still battling along. And like Cripper said in the post-game interview, he said, like, you can't question his endeavour and his grit to be able to go through week in, week out, play VFL every week. So he's training with the AFL team during the week. Imagine you train, you're working hard, you're doing your things, you get training well, and you're playing twos every week. Like, it'd be really tough. And obviously the other guys, Cripper knows that he's been working hard behind the scenes, and it's tough, but it's good to see him get his reward. I think we need to get around him rather than slate him.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. Sorry, I just had a sip of the Sprite. I just have a bit of a mouthful, but I do agree, and it's really an interesting conversation that comes season's end with what we do with Paddy Dow, whether we just say, look, we know, and you probably know that you are just the midfield depth, and if anything happens, you come in. But also, he can almost right now just say to Carlton, to just be like, nah, fuck this. I'm better than a Matt Kenny, or I'm better than an Adam Chera, or I'm better than a fucking Sam Walsh to a stretch. I can come in and I can produce performances like this where he gets 22 touches and a goal. It's pretty insane. And it's just credit to him. So Okay, so now we'll move on to the ruck conversation. It's a big conversation to have because with a few players coming back maybe in the next few weeks, we don't know how this combination is going to go. But of course, it is TDK and Pitnet with the combination. And I guess one comment before I move to you, transition to you, David Boy, is TDK. I know that we spoke about it at the start of the episode, and it's I guess how TDK broke open the fourth quarter, and he was a big difference in that last quarter. I know that he definitely made an impact with Paddy Dow playing a really good last quarter, and a few others, whether it's a Blake Acres as well. But with the combination with TDK and Pitnet, do you reckon this is a combination that will be seen next week, or maybe there's someone coming through, but also to kind of focus it just on TDK? How good was he?
Yeah, I thought the rucks battled hard today. I thought Teddy K was definitely the best out of the two. I thought Pito was okay in the ruck for most of the game. He just struggled around the ground today, which seems to be a little bit of his downfall, unfortunately. But TDK, man. That's why he's such an important re-signing. He broke open the game in the last quarter. I thought he had a really good second half, actually, but his last quarter in particular really kind of took it up to St Kilda. His willingness to get the ball forward and he's around the ground. He was just really, really good. And how about that goal he kicked in the third quarter? He was in a bit of traffic and he just chucked it on the left peg and went through the big sticks, and that kind of set up that kind of run we had in that third quarter where we started to kind of get it back on our terms slowly but surely. Shout out to TDK, and he worked his ass off. The ruck roll is not an easy role, and I think people underrate it sometimes. Obviously, we were talking about it a few weeks ago how it's a dying position. In a sense, it's a dying position, but it shows how important it is when they are on top. Because I thought Ryan Marshall was really good today for the Saints. I think he's probably their best, in my opinion, probably their most influential player currently there. Obviously, Crouch has had a good year, but he unfortunately dropped donuts in the last quarter. But it was good to see the rucks going at it. But it's hard to really pick if they're gonna. I'd imagine Sauce comes in when he's fit. I think he's probably the second ruck because he can just play around the ground. He's better up forward. That's just the issue we're having currently with the rucks. They just don't have enough impact going forward. Even Teddy Kano, he kicked his goal, but just even he just hasn't taken any marks on the lead and stuff like that. But I guess that'll come. But yeah, Teddy K, very good, mate.
Yep, I completely agree. I will just very quickly touch on the goal that he actually kicked. And it was, I think, because I was actually doing the edit for the game. Actually, to the viewers, make sure to look at the video in the bottom on camera. You do have it. If there's any fuck ups, you'll know that it was me. But to the goal that he actually kicked, it was pretty insane. I think it was from like 45 minutes out, and only genuine and great ruckman of the competition can do that. And you touch on there also about, I guess, the dying position. And I know I was pretty adamant about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, that it is a dying position. And it's different if you have good ruckman that can play other roles. If you just got the ruckman that can play the one ruck role, that's when it's a dying sort of position. Like we name the big rucks of the competition right now, which is a Max Gawn or a Tim English or a Rowan Marshall even is now to come into that conversation. Tell me, like, the one thing that they all do is they all get the fucking ball. Like they all they are all like a fourth midfielder. So that's why it's so important to have a ruckman like TDK, which he's really good at that ruck craft. But I always relate TDK to a Nick Nanui every single time because his ruck craft is such like his craft is pretty insane, and it's very basketball like where you can just tap it. It's pretty insane. But also around the ground, he's getting better. He's still not to the extent of a Max Gawn or a Tim English, but he's still getting a lot better. And I think one moment, I think it was probably halfway through that second quarter as well, that we were starting to make a little bit of a comeback where he just continued to drive the ball forward. There was one moment, there was one passage of play, I don't know which one it was, but I reckon he had about 3 or 4 pressure acts in that probably half a minute's, I guess, bracket. He just kept going, and it's just insane how his work around the ground is so important to our structure. And I think it's pretty obvious that JDK is the sole ruckman over Mark Pitt there. But now we'll move on to the forwards. Now there's a few names there, but I know that there's, I'm sure there's a few more names that you might mention as well, Duff. But Jesse Motlop, one thing to touch on Jesse Motlop, before I transition to you, Duff. I'm a bit rattled at the moment. I don't know what it is, but I think there's been so much talk about Jesse Motlop and getting more of the ball.
Yeah.
And today, when he ran through that center to kick that goal, I'm like, he's going to kick this. He is going to kick this. And he trusted himself. He just kept running, laced it out from 50. And that's what a good small forward does. But also, that's what a good midfielder does.
Yeah.
And Jesse Motlop, I don't know where his career is going to take him, but if the small forward role doesn't work for him, he could genuinely be a solid midfielder. But but to touch on also David Cunningham and Lockie Fogarty as well. I know Lockie Fogarty wasn't as great today as he probably has been for the past 5 weeks, and I know that the stats show that. But it doesn't matter because he just brings a different. It doesn't matter about stats. We always touch on these guys about stats, and they're not the stats players. They are impact. They are more just effort every single time, intent for the footy, all that. But to touch on Motlop, Tanners, and Fog Duff, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said last week, it's Motlop's coming into his own. Obviously he got dropped a few weeks ago. Just because his form is off, and that happens. That happens with young players, and he's 19 years old. It's going to happen, and it's not about getting dropped. It's the way you respond when you come back into the side, and he has responded to a perfect. Since he came back through that injury with Owies against Port when he kicked 4 goals and a half. That's the response we were after, and. He's like you said with his touches, he's really impactful. I think a lot of those small forwards are really impactful. Same as Cunners as well. He's another ripper. That check side goal in the last quarter, fuck me. There was no space. He had about that much space. He had 4 defenders around him. He was in a circle of St Kilda defenders. He's like, yeah, fuck you all. I'm just going to pop it on my foot and it's going to go in. And it was like I knew we were on when he kicked that. Like, we needed that first goal, and those guys get those fucking goals.
Yeah,
he might get. It's his only goal for the game, but that is an important goal. And like you said before, you need these players in finals. In finals, there's 3 minutes on the clock. Ball goes long, and Cunners is out the back, or he dribbles a goal through, or kicks it from a weird position to win you the game. You know what I mean? It's those little things, and. I thought our forwards were really good. I thought Jack Martin was good again. Obviously didn't get his goals, but I thought he really stood up in the first half when we were a little bit down in that department up forward. Obviously took that big grab and kicked that goal from about 50, and he still had his 15 touches. So pretty good by his standards. And I know Charlie only had 10 touches, but I thought he had a really good game. I thought he's fucking ball use around. He's the best field kick in the team. It's unbelievable that it doesn't get talked about much outside of the kind of internal, Carlton podcasts and stuff. Like, the mainstream media don't often talk about that stuff. They just talk about his goal kicking, which is great. Like, obviously that's great, but I think we need to focus a lot on how he used the ball passing to his teammates. The one in particular was there was 4 defenders to 1 in the forward line, which was Matt Owies. The whole team's telling him to slow down and wait for people to go up. And he goes, nah, fuck it. I'll go quick and hit him, because he knows he can hit him, and he hits him. He fucking hits him because he went quick. He's a natural footballer. He doesn't need, it's just like bang. And he knows within himself, like you were saying before, with confidence with these half backs, and they can just take it on. He took it on and hit the target. We were all like, oh, slow it down, wait. He's a different footballer. He saw what was going to happen before it happened. Yeah, that's how good he is. And obviously he had 10 touches. There's probably a few holds there a few times. Cal Wilkie he was good, Cal Wilkie, but there was a few. He tends to just hold and grab a lot. Wilkie, not just today, but it's just kind of the way he defends. Most weeks, whenever he's taking a key forward, is that kind of, I don't know. It's like that hold and grab. It's like that little grab, but they don't pay the free kicks ever. Like it works for him. You know what I mean? It's just like a weird kind of, I don't know. He just doesn't make it look obvious, which is good defending in my opinion. But yeah, shout out to the forwards. They were really good. And obviously when other players went up forward, they were good as well. And the pressure, like I said before, that effort with that 4 tackles or 5 tackles within 10 seconds was, my brain couldn't comprehend what the fuck was going on at that point.
Well, it's a great way to sum it up, I guess. But the one thing that I'll touch on very quickly is, I guess, I reckon this is the first time for probably this season where we haven't where we actually haven't written Charlie Curnow's name down in the run sheet. And that's pretty insane.
Great
and it's a great sign. And because that's the thing, this is something that from the TV you don't really see too much. And obviously you saw sort of at the ground with how important Charlie Curnow was in those 2 moments. And I know that the 2 moments that come to mind is the one when he kicked it. He was on the boundary and he laced out Blake Acres for our second goal of the game. Like that's just, he looks in. Like as soon as he gets a sight, sorry. He just goes straight in. But also the kick to Matt Owies as well on the commentary.
Yeah.
I know that Owies marked it, and I think the boundary person was saying everyone wanted him to slow down, but he just kept going because Owies was out there because he had like 3 defenders on him. But Charlie had a split second that he needed to go there if he wanted to lace out that target, and that's what he did. And it's pretty insane, and it's just a credit to him because, as you said perfectly, there is just he's a one in a lifetime footballer.
Yes,
you don't see it ever. You don't see it, and people compare him to Jeremy Cameron. He's better than Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah,
he's better than Jeremy Cameron. He can play positions where no one else can in the league, and I'm saying that no one else can play the type of football that Charlie Curnow plays, and a lot of people would be saying, "Oh yeah, we're just biased because he's Carlton and he's a Carlton man." No. We both watch a lot of football, and no one else produces the type of football that Charlie Curnow does.
Yeah,
and it's just, I'm so pleased that we have him on our Carlton list. But to touch on the last segment of the episode, of course, it's been a great episode, a great review. 7 wins in a row, but of course, best on ground, Duffy boy. There are once again. How good is it reviewing a win? It's so much better than a loss.
Yeah.
But I know that there would be a few names in your mind, Duffy boy. But if you were to name one guy that was your best on ground, who would you say?
Yeah, it's been tough the last 7 weeks. We haven't lost in about 56 days or 60 days or something like that. Essendon game where we lost last was that was a bad night, wasn't it? But on a better note, it's hard. It's hard to pick the best on grounds, and obviously over that 6-week loss period, I think we picked Adam Chera. 6 weeks. It was just like already written on the fucking notes that we knew each other. We were going to both say Chera, but best on ground for me, I think it was Nick Newman. I think that's he's had a career best season. That was his best game of his career best season. So it's pretty hard not to have him as best on ground. Obviously, there's a lot of contributors, but I thought he was a standout back there in defence.
Yeah, well, I really want to say Newey, but you know me, everyone knows. I mean, not everyone knows me, but the people that watch the show and kind of know how I kind of run with my best on ground, and it is I like going with different people. It's kind of the soft call is Nick Newman, but I'll also mention Blake Acres.
Yeah.
Like 27 touches, but also 2 goals, 2 vital goals. Like the first goal he kicked was, the second goal that he kicked, the second goal in our second goal, but also his second goal that he kicked was just the game winner. That was the game winner, and the game was on the line. If he misses that, Saints were pretty much out. So if he misses that, but he went back, he trusted himself, and he nailed it. And one thing before we wrap up the episode, isn't it funny? So you touched on there about the Carlton Essendon game.
Yeah.
That was the game that we went with each other. So I don't reckon Duffy Boy will ever go to a game again. Never again, because ever since then we've been winning. So Baggers officially tonight has been hard from our Carlton games. But to wrap up the episode, Duffy Boy, is there anything else you want to touch on?
Oh, mate, a really, really good day at the footy. Obviously, the first half was a bit questionable, but it was good to see the second half fight. You don't see Carlton winning those games the last few years. We don't win those types of games, do we? And we've turned the corner. It was a fucking long corner, but we've turned the corner, and we've got there. I think we've got there. We've still got work to do in terms of getting that last win or last couple of wins to secure a spot in finals, because it's still tight. So you can't let it slip, how we let it slip last year. So a big game against the Demons Saturday night, that's going to be fucking massive. The AFL must be licking their lips thinking about that game, because that's a Saturday night. They've scheduled that for the Saturday night. MCG, both teams in great form. Both teams still need a win. Melbourne obviously still pushing for a top 2 spot to try and get a home final. And we're obviously still pushing for finals, and hopefully a home final as well for elimination final, which would be crucial if we want to have a big impact in September. And it's weird to say that, Pato, because it's getting closer. It is getting closer. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird because you think it's so far away when you keep missing out every year. You miss out and you go, it's such a big hurdle. And all these other teams, they probably think, oh yeah, finals easy peasy. Like Geelong, they just roll up every year and they make the 8. It was like such a hurdle for us to make it. It's like, fuck, it's so weird. It shouldn't be that much of a hurdle, but the turnaround has been immense. I don't think I've ever seen a team, that's not even me being biased. Maybe the Sydney year where they went 0-7 and made the 8, that was probably a similar situation. But I think we got to a point where it was round 14 and we were in a 6 losing streak. So I don't think I've ever seen a team that late in the year make a charge like that. And who knows, Pato, I've got 3 words for you. Dare to dream. Yep.
Well, it's a great way to sum it up once again. And it's just right now, I don't know how to act, because you don't want to get over the top, because last week we were so over the top. We were like, Kilda finally making finals, first time since 2013, and we all know what happened. So this year, I'm just keeping a lid on it. Well, of course, the lid's off right now, but
it is.
But it's just right now we are playing great football at the right time.
Finally.
Right time. It is like it's the right time. And I think it was 2017 or something. As you said, as you mentioned about Sydney, I think it was 2017 or 2018 around then. And that's probably one of the only times that I can really name as well, because very rarely you see teams charge towards the finals like this, and we're seeing it also with GWS. And so then us and GWS are probably the 2 teams that are just charging. And you just said then about the Carlton Melbourne game next week, and it's of course our home game, so that is going to be insane. Of course, I'm not able to go there because once again I'm working, but the next game I'm actually able to go to is the GWS game. So I'm quite mad about that, but we got to do what we got to do, Daffy Boy. But you're going to be there next week.
I'll be there, mate. My old man's a big D's fan, so they're obviously my second team. But next week it's a bit of bragging rights, and it's already been a bit of shit talk in the Daffy household this week, especially today. I was letting him know about it a little bit.
Well, I mean, let's just hope that we can say to Anthony, mate, go to the but make sure to all the listeners and viewers out there, whatever platform you are watching on, make sure to try and share the channel around as much as possible. I know that we really appreciate the support that we get every single week. We really appreciate the comments as well and the messages that we get. I guess for your opinions, but also your suggestions for, I guess, what we can try and change about the podcast, but also about your opinions on the team and our thoughts. But as I said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to try and really share the channel around. We have an absolute blast doing this every single week. But to you, Duffy Boy, it's an absolute pleasure. doing a podcast with you every single week, mate. To you and to all the blue baggers out there. Oh, the baggers!
Come on.